Lyria Uthra, Warden of Emetrica, by your shining lance do we part the sea of darkness. My star shards, with your mighty bolts, we cast down the faithless. My Bladelords, blessed sword of the Vanari, in your care we place our lives. My lore-seekers, cunning agents of knowledge, through your deeds we enlighten the realms. And Ellania, my pupil, with your brother Ellathor, favored of my twin, you set new heights for all Lumineth to aspire to. My people, with your combined might, judgment will be rendered. Together, we will pierce death's fell curtain and bring light.
Hello and welcome to Winter Disco Tabletop Gaming. We're finally here. It's taking me 2 weeks. I'm finally getting to look at the new Lumineth Realm-lords models that were announced in the Lords of the Mortal Realms online preview from the 20th of February. It's now the 3rd of March. Oh, it's taken me so long to get here. It's been a bit hectic in my life, I'm not gonna lie, but we're here. So let's talk about the models. Oh, there's actually a lot. I am a massive fan of Lumineth Realm-lords, just as I was in the 90s of the High Elves. Because let's be honest, these are the High Elves. Let's just get that out of the way. You can see that through all the different iconography and a whole bunch of other stuff. They're definitely High Elves. But anyway, enough on that. We've got a ton of new models. We got a new trailer, which I played at the beginning of the video. But let's get in and start talking about the models. First up, the Vanari Bladelords, dual-wielding dudes. Very reminiscent of, I think the unit of High Elves was Great Swords. Ooh, Sword Lords. I can't remember. It's been 30 years. Come on, guys. My memory's not that good. Very reminiscent. It has that scale armor that they all had. The weird helmets. The helmets are a bit more weird. Most importantly, other than the dual wielding, they've all got banners. And once again, I'll just point out, I love banners. I love them. Give all my models banners and I'll be happy. That's probably why I like them. Honestly, the helmet is a bit funky. I think it works. It goes along with how the Lumineth were. I guess the first chamber, which was the mountain chamber, I guess we'll call it. I didn't like the helmets of the Stone Guard. Yeah, the Stone Guard. How they had the bull horns on it. Didn't like it. I don't think that was necessary. But on these models, I like it a lot. It really works with it. For some strange reason, they're very ornate, but it works. And some of them don't dual wield too. I have to point that out. But either way, very cool, interesting. This is a gripe I have with the entire Lumineth Realm-lords range, is their eyes and their faces in general. I don't like the sculpts. I know it is very much a stylistic choice. They want to set them apart from humans, but it doesn't work for me. The eyes are like too almond. They're too long across the face. It's not proportioned right for me. In my mind anyway. Fight me in the comments. Bring it on. But yeah, so here we go. Vanari Bladelords. Very, very cool models. I like the dynamic pose, opposed to the old High Elves versions, or equivalent, I guess we could say. But that was just of the time and of the technology and creative ability and technical ability to create models that were dynamically posed. You really couldn't get away with it too much back in those days. But now we got all 3D stuff. We can do some really cool stuff. So, I do like those models. Next up, we have the Starshard Ballistas. Giant bow and arrows, basically. The more I look at the images and the shots of this unit, the more I'm convinced, and I know this is not true, it's a ridiculous idea, that these two elves are tiny. They've somehow been shrunk through some magical mistake and they've just got normal bows and arrows. Obviously, it's not the case. These weapons are pretty devastating. Heavy dual arrows. Not even arrows, they're more spears than anything. They're huge, so I imagine that would do a whole bunch of damage. So, very nice. And yeah, definitely is nostalgic. Bit of a nostalgic kick because there was a similar weapon with the High Elves, but I think it was more of a traditional heavy crossbow that was on like a little turret, if I recall correctly. But either way, and again, I actually really like the helmet. I like the helmet how it comes down over its ears, but then they have like the cheek and face guards to sort of go around. And the faces on these ones are actually a bit better. I like the scowl that they have. Their eyes aren't as big or odd. I don't know. There's something about the face, and I think a lot of people have said the same thing, particularly with the techless model. The face ruined it for me. It was the only bit I did not like about that model, and that's again part of the whole range. We also have what's called the Shrine Luminor. Now, in the image itself, it looks pretty big. You know, it's going to be big. I didn't realize how flippin' massive it is. It's huge. And I do love how they are releasing terrain and set piece terrain for the armies. And this piece is just, I love the design of it. Definitely not old high elves. They've definitely moved on from that idea, which is very Tolkien-esque inspired, Lord of the Rings inspired. So they've taken it another way. Very, I guess, high mountain Asian influences. Bit of Buddhist in there, a bit of Hindu as well. Sort of, I'm thinking in that area high up at the top of India, the mountains of China, Mongolia-ish, that kind of area there, Tibetish? That's not what they call it, Tibet. Yeah, that kind of idea reminds me a lot of architecture from that area. But yeah, this model itself is huge. They showed it off in the video, and it's way bigger than it shows off in these images. Like, a model can stand on that paved bit with the sigil in the middle of the terrain and still dwarfed. So interesting. And it seems to be held up by 3 points. You got the 2 water and then some rocks at the back. So I was wondering how that actually held up, but if you do look at the image, there is that little sort of triangular rock at the back, which I assume goes into the middle of the model, or maybe towards the back of it, just to get it steady. But I do love how, particularly with this range, they are experimenting with the technical aspect of how they can put a model together, particularly with the, my god, I can't remember the name of it. It was the model of the year for me last year. Eltharion? Is that what it? The Lord of Eltharion? The armor model. The animated armor model. They really pushed how they can do things technically. Wow. What a day. We also have some more. We have, I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but these are the riders, the kangaroo riders, although they're barely inspired by kangaroos. Barely. As an Australian, I have a right to say that, but the model here would seem to be a character model. I don't know if they mentioned the name there of it. I don't see it on the website, but I want this model. I really do. Just, there's something about a very classically inspired, nostalgic kick from High Elves of the 90s. Not just the color, but the design. The helmet just screams that to me, particularly that arcing shape on both sides of, I guess, the feather piece. Yeah, just, it's a stunning model. There's a lot going on with it, but at the same time, I think because a lot of the colors are very similar, you have like creams and light golds and beiges and yellows and that kind of color. It all sort of sits together, and then you have that offset by the blue and the little flicks of red through it. I think the paint job is very, very well crafted and very thoughtful. It's just the model in itself. And then you have the broken statue on the ground. Very, very cool. Always instantly drawn back to that helmet. There is something very special about that helmet that I really do like. And the models for these riders, whatever they're called, I can't remember now, the kangaroo riders, I think that box is going to be amazing. I'm very keen to get that. I'm excited how they're experimenting. They're just grabbing various different animals, chucking it together, all these different influences, and bringing them together to create something new and unique, but still very much in the vein of Age of Sigmar / I want to say old world Warhammer, but it's taking cues from that. Like, we know that you could see this and not have seen anything from Warhammer, know anything about the Lumineth Realm-lords. And if you come from 90s Warhammer, you would guess you'd have a pretty good stab. They'd be like, these are high elves. Yeah, I think you'd have a pretty good stab at that because you got all different colors, the feathery aspects of it, the fish scale armor as well. That's very reminiscent of the high elves. So, and tassels too, if I recall correctly. So yeah, very, very nice. We also have, who is it? Hurakan Spirit of the Wind. So this is the alternative build for Severath, which we have seen in another video. So I won't go too much into this, but very impressive model. I love it's almost like a fox inspired thing. Again, a whole mashup of different animals, which is very, very cool. I can't say enough how much I love this range. It comes down to the subtlety of the use of colors as well. I think that is a big thing for me. It's very refined, like the armor plates are all very refined. Everything sort of is very thoughtful. And even with the Hurakan model, I find that too. Everything is done with a purpose. It's not just, oh yeah, we'll just throw some stuff in. Like, let's just say with Space Marines, let's throw some skulls in, let's throw some Purity Seals in because it's what you do. Everything seems extremely thoughtful in this range, which is why I really like it. And speaking of thoughtful, coming back to all these models that I haven't looked at for like 2 weeks, ever since the live event was on, and just going, oh yes, this model. So of course we've got big giant banner boy here. Yeah, again, every aspect of these models, just to me anyway, I'm sure people don't agree. They don't, it's like everything has been thought of. Everything's been thought about. Like, do we have this aspect of the sigil? How do we put in like aspects of wind? We're taking a lot of Asian influence here, and how do we put that in but make it unique in its own way without it being, this is an Asian influence? And yeah, how do you take that high elves influence? And to me, the model here is probably the most high elvy model. To me anyway, it's that pose. Not so much the banner / flag, and the top of the helmet, but from the helmet downwards, it feels to me very much high elves. Like, you could probably put this model in a high elf army and be like, it actually fits. And I think it is the more use of the triangular shapes throughout the design of this model, because that triangular fish scale motif was pretty constant throughout the old high elf range. So let's move on to another one. We have this guy. I don't know this one. We've seen a few of the rumor engine models here. Shots in that series, definitely of the Cloud. We don't know much about this model itself, unless I've missed some important information, but I don't think so. But I love it. I wish there was like an entire unit of these. I don't think so. I think this is just going to be like a elite character, probably a spellcaster of some kind, or like a general that zooms around the battlefield. And yes, I do have to make the connection to Monkey Magic and him flying on his cloud, because I grew up with that. I have very fond memories of watching that. So yeah, it's obviously straight away, that's the idea I get. And even the helmet coming down under his eyes and his cheeks and then fanning out, it's that, to me, that's sort of like the hair that he is somewhat traditionally shown with, like off the chin, like this wide sort of mutton chops that come off his face. I can't help but not see that. But again, so much thought into the cloak itself. And this is what I mean, like this little attention to detail. And I'm trying to figure out how I can explain it the best. You can tell that the way that this cloak moves, it's a heavy fabric. Like the way it folds, it's folding in like very tight angles. Whereas if you had more of a lighter fabric or an older fabric, it would float more and flap more. This seems to be, it's that heavy that it is pulling itself down, but still being upheld because you're flying around. So yeah, just that attention to detail. Very, very nice. All right, we still got more models. Oh my God. Okay, this fella, no idea what he is. No idea. We'll talk about the image itself first. So the image on the thing that he's holding, there's a lot of graininess around the edge of it. I think that is partly to do with the lighting and the angle and the way that they've treated the image itself. So I don't imagine the staff part is completely white. I think there's a lot more nuance to that. I just think that it just looks like it's a flat piece without any three-dimensionality to it, which I think is wrong. I think once we see the models, we'll be able to see a bit more. You can see the top of the white stuffy bit. There is a bit of shadow there, and you seem to miss it as it goes down, even when it goes down past his hand, but you start to see a little bit more when there's more elements. So I guess the oval shapes down the bottom. So that's one thing that really jumps out at me straight away. So I don't think it's the best image of this model. The other thing that jumps out straight away is his little shoes, his little booties. I don't understand what this is. They're like middle stilettos, middle high heels. I don't know how it works. I imagine it's probably he's very agile with it. So I can imagine him leaping and bounding up in the mountains over different rocks, kind of like a mountain goat, jumping around with ease. And he also seems to be manipulating the paper and holding in the air. Don't know what's on the paper. I think there is a shot somewhere. If I can find it, I'll put it on screen of what's on there. I think it was like a whole bunch of sigils and a few other bits and pieces. Again, more funky helmet designs. I don't particularly mind this one. I think it's nice. I think it's all right. Yeah, it's all right. Yeah, I love the variation and the fact that they've been willing to experiment and try different type of things, even when it comes down to the weird funky helmets, because this guy's helmet is completely different to all the other models, and all the other models are completely different to this one, and you compare them and no two are really the same, which I think is really nice. So yeah, we don't know much about this guy. Again, I don't know if he's going to be some kind of wizard or sorcerer or something. I think with the lantern, he would probably be have some kind of buffing rules to get in with the troops, and almost like a general type things, like reading out instructions or possibly spells to help out. We'll see. More models. This is a particular unit. They say the name in the video, and I can't recall what it is, so it seems to be a particular elite unit. The swords look a lot bigger than the Blade Masters, the Bladelords. I'll get the names all right. There's lots of names going around in my head. And they have like these weird staffs, so I'm not sure if they have some kind of magic ability or what. But again, the helmet looks really cool. I really like it. More short, stubbier one with bits sticking out the side with longer tassels compared to other ones which are like really tall and long. And I think it's really weird. But every time I keep looking at these models, I'm finding more and more little bits of detail in there that you just don't catch the first time around, which is very nice. And finally, we have these guys. So these are, if I can get their name right, twins, Ellania and Ellathor. So each of them studied under Teclis and Tyrion, each separately, and they've come together in one model, which I've got no idea how that's going to work, but I love the idea of it. This just, to me, it exudes what this particular chamber, the Wind Chamber, I guess we'll call it, is of the Lumineth Realm-lords. It just says everything you need to know about them. They are martial fighters. They have mastery over the arts through like their armor and design and all kinds of things. They have mastery over the elements, in this case wind, because she's like stepping right on her tippy toes on this weird metal banner thing. I think this says a lot about the army itself and what they stand for and how they view the world. What I do want to see though is what's on the back of his cloak. So I'm excited to get like a 3D thing. I think it's just going to be a plain color, but who knows? It could be a giant sigil. I kind of hope it's a giant sigil. I think that'd be really cool. Or some kind of really weird, funky design. And if it's blank, I think there's definitely opportunity to do some kind of design. Maybe take on the elements of the clouds and the wind that you've seen in some of the other banners and on some of the other designs of the range, and you can put that on there. And to top all this off, you're going to have to want to get the rules, right? And more of this lore. They're releasing another battletome, which I am very surprised about. I'm sure the last battletome only came out last year. Definitely did, yep, because they were the first videos. So when I started working on Warhammer stuff on this channel, the Lumineth Realm-lords were some of the first things that I looked at and spoke about. So it's really only been a year. We don't know when this is going to come out. It'll come out probably around the time as Broken Realms Techless, I think, which makes sense. But again, I think this army is probably extremely popular because it does bring back a lot of elements of the old world. The design for this is quite unique and very well thought out, and they've spent a lot of time to come up with these designs and make it a whole unique unifying thing, but each model and unit is slightly different, but still, you know, like, yep, that's Lumineth Realm-lords. So of course you need to get a new battletome with it, so there'll probably be a whole bunch of new art and all that stuff, so that will come out at some stage as well. So that's it. So many models. We've been going for about 20 minutes, longer than I intended. Let me know what your favorite model is. I honestly, I can't pick. I keep going through and thinking about what it is I like, but I think it is this character rider, possibly. But then I look at another model, I'm like, oh, I really love that too. I mean, the range does have its faults. I think some of the helmets are completely overblown. I think that is one of the issues, and I think that was the big issue that most people had with the first one. But it feels like after the first release last year, the design team kind of got into the right frame of mind and worked out the visual language of what the Lumineth Realm-lords are. And of course, we know it's probably not response from the models they released last year, because there is like a long lead time, like several years lead time. These models would have been designed and probably almost finished early last year, probably even well before that really. But you can see how there's that progression, and they become more comfortable with the language and design language and visual cues and things that the Lumineth Realm-lords use. They become a bit more open to experimenting and being like, okay, we have this base idea, let's step out from there and see what we can find. And they find funky creatures like this. And yeah, always sort of at the back of their mind, okay, hi elves, we'll just keep these elements in, like the fishtail scales and the helmets and the colors and things like that. So I think it's a great range. I'm excited to get my hands on some of the models. This year, one of my aims this year is not to buy as many models, but be very particular about what I do buy. And I think there definitely is some in this new range for the Lumineth Realm-lords that I want to pick up. We'll see. So let me know in the comments what your favorite one is. Tell me about your excitement, because I'm excited. I think this is like, I think with Age of Sigmar, and it's not that they went too far away from Warhammer. I think they went too far into a grim, dark fantasy, but still trying to keep some fantastical elements. What was missing from that, when people think about Warhammer, is the traditional fantasy element of elves and dwarves and all that kind of stuff. And I think they've been very successful in the Lumineth Realm-lords range and bringing that back, but still keeping Age of Sigmar. So yeah, I could talk about this range for ages. So catch me on a live stream sometime and we'll just talk about it. So I've got to wrap this video up. I'm rambling now. So thanks for watching. If you aren't subscribed to this channel, hit that subscribe button so you can get more videos about me ranting and raving about Lumineth Realm-lords and banners and flags and things and all that good stuff. Comment, like, share the video, all that stuff. Let's get the algorithm rolling for the channel, and I will see you in the next video.